Have you ever heard of the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937? It was a tough time for the people of China, especially for a group of soldiers who were tasked with protecting the international settlement of Shanghai. The journey wasn't easy, as they had to cross the countryside first. But when they finally arrived, they were greeted with the sad sight of a destroyed and abandoned side of town. The soldiers began discussing how to proceed, and young Xiao Hubei told his uncle that his brother, Duan Wu, was gone. Duan Wu had gone exploring to see what was going on. Still, unfortunately, he stumbled upon some Japanese soldiers, and they spotted him too. In a split second, he decided to hide and save himself, his brother, and his uncle. They quickly found a place to hide, but the rest of their group was killed. Can you imagine being in their shoes, making life and death decisions in a moment like that? It's heart-wrenching to think about. As night fell, the soldiers found themselves in the more populated and safer part of Shanghai. However, they were stunned to witness the National Revolutionary Army executing Chinese soldiers who had abandoned their posts. Fearful of being labeled deserters, the soldiers sought another group to join. Their luck turned when they stumbled upon a machine gun company composed of other deserters who were being transported to the Sihang warehouse. This stronghold was the last line of defense between Shanghai and the Japanese army. Despite the commander's initial reluctance to collaborate with deserters, Lieutenant Colonel Ji Jinyuan realized that they needed all the help they could get. Duan Wu, one of the new arrivals, attempted to explain that he and his family were not deserters, but instead were part of the troops left behind. Despite this, Jinyuan still sent them to work on fortifying the warehouse. While they were working, the alarm was raised. It was just a group of Chinese refugees seeking refuge in the international Shanghai settlement. The uncle of Duan Wu sneaks out of the warehouse to join them and tries to enter the safety of the settlement, but he is stopped at the gates because of his army uniform. Back at the warehouse, the soldiers are serenaded by a beautiful voice from a woman in a building across the river. Hubei makes a new friend named Xiao Qiyue, who shows him the contrast between the different worlds at the front and back of the building. And just when things couldn't get any wilder, a group of soldiers stumbles upon a secret stable with a white horse inside. Chaos ensues when the horse gets spooked, but Qiyue saves the day with his whistle and calm demeanor. The following day, worry grips the civilians in the street as they suddenly hear explosions and observe that the Japanese have captured another building, waving their flags in a display of victory. The Japanese, thinking the warehouse is not well defended, attempt to take it over. However, it turns out to be a trap set by the Chinese army, who were hidden. The Chinese army ambushes the Japanese and quickly defeats them due to the element of surprise. Despite their actions, the group belonging to Duan Wu is still regarded as deserters, and they are not given permission to fight. They are kept in a locked room and released only after the battle is over. One individual tries to escape, but is immediately shot dead for attempting to desert again. Duan Wu joins the soldiers in clearing and looting the bodies, but he does not dare to kill any enemy soldiers who are still alive, unlike the others. Despite the presence of Japanese troops outside the warehouse, they respond by launching gas bombs through its windows. The soldiers scramble to find cover, using towels soaked in urine to protect their faces against the gas. Duan Wu struggles with fear and anxiety, unable to relieve himself until another officer gives him a mask. The gas leaks from the warehouse and spreads to the surrounding settlement, causing panic as civilians desperately search for a safe place, only to find that building owners have locked their doors. The soldiers inside the warehouse work to eliminate the gas. Still, Duan Wu falls into an underground canal that he was unaware of and uses it to explore and find an easy entrance to the warehouse. Meanwhile, Chinese journalist Fang Xingwen meets with the Japanese army to sell information about the troops in the warehouse. The information is appreciated by Japanese Colonel Kono Isao, who begins to plan another attack. The soldiers inside the warehouse open the doors to remove the bodies, allowing a horse to escape and run through the streets. inspiring hope among the panicked civilians. This served as a temporary escape from the brutality taking place at the occupied building by the Japanese. They had taken captive Chinese soldiers and were now displaying their lifeless bodies on poles, forcing the warehouse troops to surrender. Upon discovering that one of the bodies was his uncle, Duan Wu was heartbroken but did not have the luxury of mourning as his group was assembled to execute Japanese prisoners as retaliation for the taunting. The deserters were reluctant to follow through with the plan, believing it went too far. However, Commander Sheng Zhong shot one of them and warned the others that he would do the same if they did not comply. As the soldiers started shooting the prisoners, Duan Wu couldn't bring himself to do so, even under threat. To prevent him from being killed, one of his superiors grabbed Duan Wu and reminded him that the Japanese were responsible for his uncle's death, causing Duan Wu to finally pull the trigger in anger. Later, as night fell, Qi Wei shared a special treat with Hu Bei, while Duan Wu tried to persuade his superiors to allow him and his brother to leave, as they were just farmers who were not suited for this kind of conflict. Upon having his request denied, Duan Wu decided to return to the underground canal to attempt an escape. 2 other deserters joined him, but they soon came across Japanese troops entering the same tunnel. The 3 hid underwater against the wall, holding their breath until they, unfortunately, lost one of their friends. Duan Wu and his companion rush towards the exit, where they are spotted by civilians. Pretending to be warning everyone about an incoming Japanese army attack, they cause the police to shine lights on the warehouse and civilians to raise an alarm. This proves to be a lifesaver, as the Chinese army mobilizes their defenses and wins the battle with minimal casualties. The civilians hailed Duan Wu and his friend as heroes, inspiring 3 young schoolboys to join the troops. However, upon returning inside, they are scolded by Colonel Jin Yuan, who is suspicious of their true intentions. As punishment, they are ordered to repair the defenses. The following day, when a larger Japanese force is spotted approaching, the civilians become panicked. Mr. Fang takes bets on the outcome of the battle from foreign individuals, but abstains from gambling himself. During the intense battle, the warehouse troops are quickly overwhelmed, leading to the deserters, including the brothers and the schoolboys, being given weapons and told to fight. Hu Bei tries to evade danger, but as he spots a white horse galloping by, he can't resist telling Qi Wei about it. Tries to catch a glimpse of the horse but is shot by the enemy. Despite being outnumbered, the Chinese army uses various tactics, such as creating holes in the wall for shooting grenades, using mirrors to track enemy movements, and when all else fails, soldiers attach explosives to themselves and charge towards the Japanese, causing significant damage to their troops. As the fight continues, civilians across the river send a group of volunteers under a Nazi flag to deliver supplies. However, a Japanese sniper shoots several of them and disrupts their phone line. Another civilian runs across the bridge to roll out the wire, but is shot and killed. The warehouse is able to communicate with the city, but Colonel Jin Yuan reports a higher number of remaining troops to give hope to the people. Mr. Fang, who is among the volunteers, takes photos and films the soldiers. One soldier tries to escape by stealing Mr. Fang's coat, but Duan Wu stops him, ultimately deciding not to shoot him after seeing his pleas for mercy. Commander Sheng Zhong tries to comfort Hu Bei, who is grieving the loss of Qi Wei, by offering him a drink. Hu Bei grabs the bottle and watches the city lights. A street collection for donations is underway, and civilians are eager to contribute after witnessing the sacrifices made in battle. To avoid another incident like the one at the bridge, they use a slingshot to send supplies to the soldiers through the warehouse windows. The casino owner donates a flag, and a young girl swims across the river to deliver it to the troops. Duan Wu helps her inside, attracting the attention of a sniper who shoots at him but only grazes his neck. Colonel Jin Yuan informs the troops that the Generalissimo wants them to defend the warehouse for 2 more days to gain international recognition. But this could mean not raising the donated flag to avoid provoking the enemy. A heated debate ensues, with the majority deciding to raise the flag anyway. The next morning, the deserters are assigned the task of raising the flag on the warehouse roof, earning the applause of the civilians. The Japanese army launches an immediate attack, with their fighter planes focusing on destroying the flag. Despite losing many soldiers, the Chinese troops hold on to the flag, causing the Japanese to target the civilians as well. As there are foreign nationals present, they receive a warning message that this could be seen as an act of war by other nations. The flag eventually falls, but the Chinese raise it again to avoid further casualties. Fortunately, the Japanese retreat when faced with objections from the British, allowing Duan Wu to celebrate before realizing he has been shot. With his last breath, he asks Mr. Fang to take a photo of him for his brother. Later, Hubei is once again grieving a loss when a white horse appears and allows him to pet it for comfort. That night, Colonel Jin Yuan uses a map and a puppet to perform an old Chinese war tale, reminding his troops of what they are fighting for. The next day, the British place a Red Cross flag outside the settlement to indicate it as a safe zone. Colonel Isao arrives on a black horse to negotiate, and Colonel Jin Yuan meets him riding a white horse. Isao reveals that he will soon be replaced by another colonel and that he knows the Chinese will be ordered to retreat. In order to maintain their honor and avoid appearing as a failure, he requests one final battle. Colonel Jin Yuan agrees and quickly returns to the warehouse to prepare his troops. Under an English flag, the commissioner comes to give the order to retreat to the settlement at midnight, but Colonel Jin Yuan refuses, believing that continuing to fight may inspire international support. However, the commissioner knows that this is not the case, as the rest of the world has lost interest in their conflict after the National Revolutionary Army fell, and the higher-ups have determined that it is best to accept the loss, even if it is not honorable, as the country has suffered enough. This decision greatly upsets Colonel Jin Yuan, as he feels it undermines all of their sacrifices. When night falls, the searchlights are turned off so that the soldiers can retreat across the bridge, but a small group must remain behind to provide cover. Mr. Fang collects pictures and letters from this group, promising to deliver them to their families. While the civilians gather in the streets to watch the soldiers cross the bridge, Hubei decides to stay behind as one of the defenders. The Japanese activate their searchlights and fire a flare, making it easier for them to attack the soldiers on the bridge. A group of volunteers leave the warehouse to try to slow down the Japanese, but they are quickly shot. Civilians try to help by providing medical supplies or shooting from their balconies. Gradually, most of the Chinese troops are killed, including Colonel Jin Yuan, and only a small number of men reach the settlement, where they are greeted at the gates by the civilians. In modern-day Shanghai, the white horse emerges from the ruins of the warehouse, which still stands as a reminder of the sacrifices made to make China a key battleground in the anti-fascist war in the Orient. The Chinese army was responsible for 70% of Japan's casualties in World War II.